Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today I have 10 useful tips for beginner campers. Now we're talking about car camping in this video, meaning you have your car and you drive right up to a campsite. I'm hoping that these tips will just make your first few camping trips a little bit easier and a little less intimidating. Tip number one is to plan ahead. So plan where you're gonna camp, how you're gonna get there, and whether or not you need reservations. So a lot of campgrounds require reservations. Sometimes we're talking 6 months to a year in advance. So you really wanna be thinking ahead to where you wanna camp, checking out if that area requires a permit, and then making sure that you have a permit beforehand. You don't wanna get to an area and realize that there are no campsites available and then you have to turn around. So kind of do some of that research beforehand to make sure that you're all set. In addition to planning out where you're gonna camp, I think it's also a great idea to plan out the meals that you're going to make and eat while you're camping. If you're going for an extended period of time, I like to actually write it down, breakfast, lunch, dinner, every single day, write out what I'm planning to make so that I can make sure I pack enough food and just have everything organized and in the cooler. You also wanna be checking local food storage regulations. Depending on where you are in the wildlife in the area, there might be certain regulations that you need to follow when it comes to storing your food. So the more research that you can do ahead about the area that you're camping and any regulations, any fire restrictions that might be happening, the more prepared and easier it's going to be when you actually get to the campsite. You don't want to roll up to a campground and realize that there are fire restrictions and all of the meals that you plan, for example, require a campfire. So really just thinking ahead, making sure that you're fully aware of all of the rules and regulations in the area that you're going to camp will set things up to be nice and smooth when you arrive. Tip number two goes hand in hand with number one, and it is to know your surrounding area. So really just have a general idea of where the closest town is, where the closest gas station is, where the closest grocery store is, and where the closest emergency center is. Just have a general idea in the back of your head of where you would go if you need any of those things. Number three is to share your itinerary with someone back at home. So tell them where you're going, how long you're going to be out, when you're expected to be back, and then let them know when you arrive home. This one is very simple, quick to do, and it's just a good habit to get into. Tip number four is all about navigation. So you need to think about, if you don't have service, how are you gonna navigate? We've become so dependent on our phones, just like typing things in and boom, we're off on our way. I remember MapQuest. I would go on when I first got my license and like print out driving directions from my computer. And if you took a wrong turn or something, just that goes out the window and all of a sudden you're completely lost. So we've evolved from those days. However, when you're out camping, when you're in the forest, a lot of times you don't have service. And so it's always a good idea to have a map, a topographic map and a compass, maybe even a road atlas for the area or the state that you're in. And then of course, download any digital maps and print off your driving directions so that if you lose service, you still have a way to navigate. And then if you lose your phone, you still furthermore have a way to navigate with a good old map and compass. Tip number five is to stay organized. Now I have an entire separate video that goes in depth into my personal car camping organizational system. So if you want to check that out, I will link to it in the description below. But a couple summers ago, I decided I just wanted to save some money, I wanted to travel, and I was gonna live out of my car. And one of the things that I learned really quickly is that organization is key. It only took a few days of me like trying to find my stuff all over the car for me to really dial in a system of like everything has a home, which is something my mom used to say to me when I was little. And now I've turned into my mother. But everything has a home, and really staying organized with your food, with your clothing, with all your gear, and trying to put things back in the same place all the time will ensure that you always know where to find it and you're not having any of those moments of like frustration where you're just pulling everything out of the car trying to find that one thing. So organization, if you just have good organizational habits from the get-go, it will just save you a lot of frustration down the road. Tip number 6 is to plan for the unexpected. So have a way to jump your car if you accidentally leave the light on all night. Have your spare tire, have a med kit in your car, pack extra food, pack extra water. Really thinking ahead to like those just in case items and like the oh crap moment when you maybe have to stay out longer than you expected. When I'm camping, I have a huge water jug that I have in my car, which just makes it really easy to have a water source. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, what if I run out? And so I also bring my little Sawyer Squeeze water filter, which is what I use for backpacking. And it's a great way to get more drinking water if you run out or you have to stay out longer. So the point of this tip is to really think ahead to those unexpected scenarios and make sure that you and your vehicle are prepared if you need to stay out longer or if you need to change a tire, stuff like that. Number 7 is to be mindful of other campers around you. So if you're going to a designated campground, there's going to be a lot of different sites and a lot of people there. And depending on the campground, some campgrounds are nice and secluded and others have campsites that are really close to each other. Just be mindful of your group's noise level and making sure that pets and kids aren't like running around through other people's campsites. A lot of people want to come out to nature to just kind of disconnect and be quiet for a little while and experience nature. And so just kind of being mindful of your group and making sure that the noise level isn't too loud. There's also usually quiet hours at campgrounds, so just again, being aware of any rules and regulations in the area that you're going. Tip number 8 is to pack those luxury items. So what I mean by luxury items are those things that are definitely not necessary, but that would really add to your comfort or fun. The nice thing about camping is that it's a chance to really simplify things. It really makes me at least feel so much more grateful for the simple things in life. And so while I think it's great to bring a couple of these luxury items, don't bring everything. Like really try to think about what is essential and just bring a couple of those extra items that will really make you feel more comfortable or more at ease. This could be things like a pillow. That's one of the ones that I bring. A good coffee setup. Again, Nick and I, we don't do really the instant coffee too much. We really like to have a good coffee setup. So we'll bring some extra stuff just to have a good cup in the morning. It could be some games, stuff like that, that will really just make things more comfortable and more fun. I say bring them along. Number 9 is fairly obvious, and that is of course to pack out your trash. I'm sure you already know this, but you would be surprised at how many times I've rolled up to a campsite and seen all sorts of stuff. I mean, we're talking like diapers, wipes, bottle caps, cans, like all sorts of stuff. No one wants to see that when they go to camp. So of course, just make sure that you're mindful of picking up your trash and making sure that your trash does not blow away with the wind. So secure that trash down while you're out and about and using it. Again, I know I've said this already, but just check on the food storage regulations and the trash regulations as well in the area that you're camping, and just make sure that you pack it all out. And number 10 is perhaps the one that just I feel is at the core of camping. And the tip is to try to disconnect. Try to disconnect from social media, from your to-do list, and just the stress of daily life. I find that camping is one of the quickest and easiest ways that I de-stress. I don't know, it's just something about being out with the trees and the sunshine and not having any service, not even being able to connect to anything that's going on in the world, and just being fully present here with myself, with my thoughts, and everything that is unfolding around me. That disconnection is so important for mental health. And it's one of the things that is at the core of why I love camping, why I make these videos, and why you see me constantly coming out for camping trips. Now more than ever, I have been really enjoying just a relaxing day at camp. So I don't have anything planned. I typically read my book for hours with a hot cup of coffee in the sunshine. It just feels amazing. So give yourself that time to disconnect. It's super important and it's one of the many benefits of camping. Sometimes I have cell service in the most surprising places, so it's not a bad idea to just put your phone on airplane mode for those few days that you're out camping and just really be with the people that you're camping with. And then also, if you can, get out of the tent at night and look at the night sky. When I look up at a dark, starry sky, it just puts everything in perspective. Like, it's so hard to comprehend what your eyes are seeing, and it makes me wonder. It fills me with so many questions and possibilities. And if you've never seen a dark, starry night sky, you're in for a treat. So if you're camping somewhere away from a city, maybe hop out of the tent at night just to look at the stars. It's so incredible. I'm out camping right now, and last night we got up to look at the stars and I saw 7 shooting stars. 7. So cool. Take the time to enjoy those things. Take some deep breaths of fresh air and feel the sunshine on your face and just be fully present. Slow down and disconnect. So that wraps up my 10 tips for beginner car campers. I hope that this has been helpful. Make sure to check the description box below the video because I will link to a bunch of the other car camping videos, tips, resources, recipes that I've made over the years. I have tons and tons of resources for you. So if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing, ring that bell, and I will see you in the next one.